Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessing be with everyone. My name is Ahmed. I wanted to welcome all of you who are watching us today on OIT Media. Thank you for joining us. Today we'll talk about something very important for everyone who lives and works and worship or visit the city of Minneapolis. Clean and safe, healthy drinks water. This program is a part of the project led by the City of Minneapolis Health Departments and Public Workers Water Treatment and Distribution Services to help all the residents and visitors learn about tap water. How is it treated and why is it safe and healthy to drink? Many people ask questions like, is it okay to drink water from faucet? Or should I buy bottled water? These are good questions, and today we will get clear answers together. We have a special guest with us today, Dave Alderson, who works with East Africans Tap Water Ambassadors and the Tap Water Education Project for the City of Minneapolis. He will help us explain how the city keeps the water safe and how it helps our health in drinking tap water can save money. First, an introduction. Let us review together the process that City of Minneapolis tap water goes through before it comes out of the faucet. With that, I'll pass down to the Daves, and Daves will talk on the presentation how the waters works.
Thank you, Ahmed. Okay, we're going to talk about how Minneapolis treats its water. So we'll go to the next slide. And I don't know if our viewers know, but the water comes from the mighty Mississippi River, which is a beautiful thing. It's one of the great water systems of the world, and we're blessed here in Minneapolis and St. Paul that the river comes right through the heart of our city. And so we start out, you can see in this photograph where the blue circle is, water intake. There's a huge water intake pipe that just draws the water directly out of the Mississippi River. And there's a screen there that filters out any branches or leaves or anything, any garbage or trash that might be floating in the water. And then we go to our next slide. It's very interesting. The first thing after screening out the trash through the intake pipe, the next thing that the city does is it exposes these mussels, shell creatures, to the water. And it's very interesting. It's a natural kind of a system to test for contaminants. If the water is contaminated, the shells will stay closed. If the water is not contaminated, the shells will open up. And so I think a lot of people will be surprised to find out one of the first things we do is employ some of the living creatures to help us realize if it's contaminated or not. And then we'll take the next slide. And here we use different, we got lime, aluminum sulfate, carbon. These remove organic compounds, color, and odors. And so that makes, in the first slide we saw there was one glass that was kind of yellowish and there was one glass that was very clear. So you use these compounds to treat the water and you filter out and make a nice clear bottle of water such as this one we have here. Okay, and next slide. Then after that, the water gets softened. And softening the water is important because when water is hard, it has like compounds that will stick to the side of your pipes. And if you have, and eventually that builds up. Calcium deposits build up and can clog pipes. It also can affect your hot water heater. It can affect if you have a drinking spigot on your refrigerator. These things, appliances can get clogged up with the hard water. So the city of Minneapolis actually treats the water so that you don't have to worry about your appliances. You don't have to worry about that buildup of calcium. And then, some people buy alkaline water. Well, the city treats the water to achieve what's called a neutral pH, which is the balance between, acidity and alkaline. And so they take care of that too. And then the next slide. And then, of course, any bacteria, bugs, or particles that remain get filtered through anthracite, sand, and gravel here in the next phase of the treatment process. And then we go to the next slide. And they add something called orthophosphate, which is sort of invisible to people. It doesn't have any impact on them or the flavor of the water. But what it does is it helps to create a protective barrier on the inside of the pipes that some of the pipes in Minneapolis are old enough to still contain lead. And so the orthophosphate coats the inside of the pipes and keeps the lead from leaching into the water. And then the water gets piped back out to the residents and businesses of Minneapolis through a very large network of underground pipes. And that's the water that comes out of your tap at home or in the fountain at the office.
Thank you, Dave. That's a very good presentation, educations, and how the process of the waters works. And now this is a clear. People, I'm hoping the viewers understand what Dave has just presented to us in here, especially for those of you who live in city of Minneapolis. So with that, we'll dive into the questions, and we'll ask Dave some of the questions. And
Sure.
this is some of the questions that we believe and think the viewers or our residents of city of Minneapolis might have. And the first question is, how do you know the tap water in Minneapolis is safe to drink?
Well, we know that the tap water is safe to drink. For instance, seeing what we just saw in the slide presentation, the city takes many steps to ensure the water's safety and purity because it serves hundreds of thousands of people. And something that folks might find kind of interesting and maybe even a little bit hard to believe, the city tests tap water 500 times every day, 24/7, 365 days a year. That's about one test every 15 seconds or so. So people can feel very confident about the safety and purity of Minneapolis tap water.
Wow. For those of you who did not know how much the city of Minneapolis actually they test
They go to
the
a lot of trouble.
waters. Yeah, so this is a lot. And
Yeah.
a second question that we have, connected to that, and how do some people drink why do some people drink the bottled water instead of the tap water?
Sure. Well, aside from the fact that maybe it's convenient to carry bottled water around, some people think that bottled water is safer or of better quality or purity. But honestly, you can't get water that's any more pure than the water that comes from the Minneapolis tap water because it's very clean and it's safe, and it costs less than bottled water. You can even take your own bottles and fill those up if you want to have the convenience of transporting your water with you in your backpack or your bag or whatever. You can fill up your own bottles and reuse those. And consumers can be confident that they know how the water is treated because the city is so transparent about how it takes care of our water supply.
Yeah, what I've noticed or I've heard in the past is that for the folks who live in the city of Minneapolis, you know, brought it up the questions about, okay, how is it like, the the actually bottled water taste better in terms when it comes to tastings, because there's like, oh, the faucet, the tap water doesn't taste when it comes to tasting. There's a little bit difference. That's why they like, they feel like the tap water is not better than the bottled water. But right now, from the education, also the perspective, how much actually the water is being tested and cleaned, and we should consider. I mean, for those who are not used as much, the tap water should consider using and seeing it. Like Dave says, we got the bottle of the that you can use it to fill it up the water. The city of Minneapolis will offer that, and then Dave and his teams, they do actually had they tabled here as Tawfiq Islamic Centers about 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot of people who stopped by and I've tested it. So if we will say to all the viewers and should consider and testing it and trying it, give it a try.
Give it a
Yeah.
try. Yeah. Some people like flavored water too, Ahmed. and that's fun to drink flavored water, but they should know that they can create their own flavored water. You can take oranges and slice and put a few slices of orange. I like oranges with strawberries.
Yeah.
And this is something that we did with our taste tests here at Toffic when
Yep.
we were giving samples to the people.
Sure.
We also used lemons and blueberries. You've mentioned to me you've put cucumber in your water before. So that's a good taste. So you can have some fun with that. Make your water taste flavored, just like the stuff that you buy at the store, but with fresh fruit. And also, we noted in the slides that some people are like, "Oh, I like to get alkaline water." Well, the city adjusts the pH balance of the water for you before it even comes to your tap. So that's another benefit. And so, with all of those things in mind, and actually, I think when we took our tour, I thought that the water treatment manager told us that there are bottling companies that actually use Minneapolis tap water in their bottled water.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most people are like, wow. Now, we all like the water that we get used to as flavor, so I understand that.
Yeah.
But Minneapolis water has actually won in blind taste tests. It's beat out bottled water in blind taste tests when people didn't know what they were drinking. They thought that the preferred water for them was the Minneapolis tap water.
Thank you for that clarification. What can people? The third question here we have is, what can people do if they are worried about the lead in old pipes?
Okay. As you point out, lead pipes are an issue. Back in the early part of the 1900s and even a little bit later than that, when a lot of the infrastructure of the city was put in place, there was lead present in the pipes. And so people can actually contact the city to find out if their property has lead pipes. The city has interactive maps people can use to show which properties' water lines might have lead. They can also contact the city for free lead testing kits, which is something that you had mentioned in one of our earlier conversations. Call 311, ask for a free testing kit. Or they can visit the city's website by typing in City of Minneapolis lead test kit into their browser. And that will open it up and bring you into the page for the water department. Shows you where you can get that.
Thank you on that. So just connecting to that.
Well, and they can also get a filter, of course. I mean, well, I guess there are a couple of more points that you had raised about using cold water, right?
Yeah.
Rather than
The
warm
hot
water. Don't never drink, as your point was, never drink hot water directly from the tap. Run cold water and then heat it up just as you would preparing for tea or for coffee. Because hot water will, if there is lead in your pipes, hot water will dissolve that lead more readily than cold water. So use cold water first for drinking and cooking. And second of all, also you can let the tap run for a minute or two first to kind of flush things out before you start drinking. And then, of course, it is an option for people who have lead in their pipes to also use filters. And you can actually find some pretty inexpensive filtering systems. I just took a look online yesterday. I found one for $19.99, at a big box store. And then the replacement filter, that was a whole system that you just hook up to your kitchen faucet. Very easy.
Yeah.
Any homeowner can do that, or any apartment dweller can, people with apartment homes can do that on their faucets too. And then a replacement filter only costs $11. So if you have lead in your pipes and you want the extra assurances, you can get yourself a very modestly priced filter for your faucet.
Is there any that city of Minneapolis that are offering for free, or is there any other organization that on top
I'm
of
not
your head?
aware of that, but if people contact their city representatives and they say, hey, we're, like let's say they live in a building that's got a lot of residents in it and they know that there's lead in the pipes of that building, they might consider saying, hey, maybe the city should have a program to help us, get filtering systems for our tap water. I don't know what, and here I am creating another budget item for the city of Minneapolis to argue about, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. Thank you. The questions. Why does the city add fluoride to the tap water?
And that's an important question because I know, especially right now, like our Health and Human Services Secretary, Bobby Kennedy Jr., is spending a lot of time talking about autism. Unfortunately, he's leaving his science behind him when he makes a connection between autism and fluoride in the water. At very high concentrations, which are so far beyond anything that the city of Minneapolis adds, fluoride has been known to have some adverse health consequences. But fluoride actually, there's always some fluoride in the water. The city adds just enough to protect our teeth and our dental health, but it doesn't add so much to where it's anywhere near the health challenges. It's not going to cause autism for anybody. And I know that's a big concern for a lot of families because it seems like we're seeing more cases of autism. And I've seen this in my own family too. So I understand the concern. But fluoride is good for our teeth. And the tap water, as we said before, is very safe. So people should have no concerns about fluoride in their tap water in the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I probably might this might not be irrelevant to, but part of the world, sometimes you see people who are from overseas or other places. They either drink a lake water because there's no fluoride in it, and you have the cavity is not normal because maybe they have some like under the teeth. The teeth are because of that cavities, and this is what really protect and for our
100.
own health. And if the
Yes.
city is putting this much effort into it, we should really consider
Yeah.
drinking the tap
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of fluoride because there's not enough in our tap water in Minneapolis or St. Paul to be. It's perfectly safe at the levels that we use for that.
Thank you. The other questions that we have here is a question that could sometimes it be very hard for underserved community or even immigrant community
Hmm.
because of the message, because of the errors that we're in. So the question is, some people don't trust the government.
Yeah.
How can we build the trust about the tap water? So once the people
Yeah.
hear from this is kind of these projects are from the city led,
Yes.
and they're always like kind of hesitant. It's like, okay, how much do I trust the government? So
Yes.
from your opinions, from perspective, from that perspective, how can people trust the government when
Yeah.
it comes to tap water?
And that's a good point, Ahmed, to raise that because we want to know that we can trust the water when it comes from a government that we don't always trust. But in this case, I hope people are seeing from the presentation that we did with a slideshow, from the fact you and I, right?
We went to the trainings.
We went to the water treatment facility,
Yep,
and they gave us a tour
of course.
of the facility, and so we were able to see for ourselves everything that the people just saw on the slides that we showed at the start of our program.
It's
And that's
accurate.
number one. So hopefully they trust you
Of
as a
course.
trusted messenger for the Oromo
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and maybe they trust me as your colleague and coworker
Sure.
in this project. Um, the city is really that we can reassure them that the city is very transparent about this process, and in fact, I think if you get enough residents together, the city might just give you a tour if you want to contact the water treatment plant yourselves. Put together a group of friends and family and go down there for a tour if you want. It's fascinating. And the other thing is working with imams,
Yeah.
working with pastors, public health workers, or
Commu-
healthcare professionals,
Community leaders. Yeah.
other people who are trusted to accept their reassurances that the government is being transparent about the process of providing the tap water. And we can share, and those of us like you and I who have personal experience with that, we can share information with others to encourage them to consider the benefits of tap water because we know it's safe.
Yeah.
And,
I
s-
just
and
want to
we
add.
hope we're helping today with this program too to build
Of
trust.
yeah, of course. I just want to add it up here, as Dave said. Of course, obviously, Dave and I we did trainings and tours with the city of Minneapolis, and then we saw the tap water how it's processed. So when it comes to trust, I think and I believe this has nothing to do with documentations or any necessary actions that the government will take. This is actually for the safety and healthy drinking water that can help all of us. So I hope all the viewers will consider our message here. So I'll be the one of the witness that who went there
Yeah.
and saw with my own eye. And thank you for that clarification, Dave. Um, Here are some other questions also as we are continuing. How does drinking tap water help the environment?
Well, when we use tap water and reusable water bottles like this one that we have right here, that reduces the plastic waste that you get when you buy bottled water for one-time use at the store. That's one thing for sure. So fewer plastic water bottles means less environmental pollution from plastic in our ecosystem. So that's one way that's beneficial for the environment. It's so much better if we put tap water, and people have the steel coffee containers that they take with them to work too.
Yeah.
That's better than grabbing a cup from your favorite coffee shop and then having to throw that away or recycle that. And here's the other thing: reusable containers are pretty inexpensive. I guess if you buy, metal or glass containers, those are going to be a little more expensive, but you can use them for years if you take care of them properly and clean them nice. But reusable plastic containers, even though maybe that you can say, well, you're talking about reducing plastic waste, but even something like this, because you're using it over and over and over again, and then we can recycle the plastic when we're done, that also contributes. Just reuse means you're using less of something, of a resource like plastic. That helps the environment. And I just saw on a website the other day, a big box store, you can get a 12-pack of reusable 16-ounce bottles, which is about, I suppose it's about this is about a 16-ounce size bottle right here. A 12-pack of those for $10. So it's not expensive for the people. And when they're refilling their own water bottles, that's incredibly cheap. And that brings us to our next question.
Yeah. And our next question, of course, is how can the families save the money by drinking tap water?
Okay. Well, they can save a lot of money. It's so much cheaper to drink tap water than bottled water. For the price of one 20-ounce bottle of water, which let's say it's $2, you can fill an entire bathtub full of water. And think of how many reusable bottles you can fill up with your bathtub. Dozens.
Of course.
So the savings are immediate and they're substantial. It costs just a few pennies to be using a reusable plastic container and filling it with tap water.
Yeah, thank you. I know nowadays, especially certain places,
Yeah.
one bottle of water,
Yep.
it could be $3, $4.
Absolutely.
$6 is depending on the locations. For instance, I think if you were to go to in like Valley Fair, so places like that. So
Oh my.
and
Or the Twin Stadium or a
stadiums.
basketball
Yes,
game.
so one bottle of water they said probably
Or the
5 to
movie theater,
Yes.
soccer game,
Yeah. So imagine
Very-
buying one bottle of water, one for $5, $6,
Yep.
where you can
Wow.
get it where listen
Yep.
that price as you could spend listen that is price
That's it.
getting the top water.
Right?
So that's how you
I think you just have to bring your container in empty, and then they'll let you fill it up
Fill it-
once you're inside the stadium.
yeah.
For security purposes or whatever. I guess they don't let you bring in full bottles of water. I learned that myself. I've had to dump my water out at the gate at a Twins game before, but you bring an empty bottle in with you, then you can fill it up once you're inside.
Yeah. That's the way to saving during this time, especially when
Yes.
economies are just
Oh my
a
goodness,
little bit
yeah.
high up
Everything's
there.
getting so much more expensive these days.
Yeah. Thank you. As we're continuing with our questions that we believe and think viewers might have about tap water, is the tap water safe for children and babies?
100% safe for children and babies, for growing kids and adults. It's safe for everybody. And once again, we can just stress that use cold tap water, for your drinking needs and for your cooking needs. Pour it out cold and then heat it up after that if you need it warm. But don't drink hot water directly from the tap. Don't try to make tea or coffee that way. It's not going to be hot enough anyhow in most cases to properly brew your tea or coffee. But draw the cold water and then heat it up, just like you do to make tea or coffee. And then if there is lead present in your water, again, You can get a filter, or you can let the tap water run for a couple of minutes to flush the lead out before drinking. And always use the cold. Leave the warm water just for washing up after you prepare your food, for instance. So,
Thank you. Uh, do people need a water filter at home?
well, again, if they don't have a problem with lead, there really isn't any purpose to having a water filter if you're a resident of the city of Minneapolis, for instance, because the city's already taken all of those contaminants or things that might cause odor or discoloration or anything like that. It's already been filtered and treated out of the water. So the short answer is no, people don't need a filter. But if their pipes are old again, once again, we'll emphasize you can get a free lead testing kit if you want to test for yourself. If it's a standalone home and you don't know what your pipes are like, call 311 or visit the city's website. Again, type in City of Minneapolis lead test kit into your browser, and it'll bring it right up for you. Um, and but most homes are not going to need filters.
All right, thank you. Our last questions here, Dave. What can people go? Where can people go if they have more questions about the tap water?
Sure. Once again, we'll use that one-stop shopping at the 311 phone number for the City of Minneapolis information, or they can visit the city's website by typing City of Minneapolis Water Department into their browser, and that'll bring them right to the main page for the water department. And again, they could also ask for information at a healthcare clinic or community center. There often are people there that can help residents and visitors. And of course, in those locations, help and information, whether it's on the city website or at a community center or a healthcare clinic, oftentimes help and other information is available in a variety of languages too. So,
Thank you. As you know, our viewers are not only lives in the city of Minneapolis because they're
yes,
all over the place when it
yeah,
comes to the state of Minnesota. Not only the state of Minnesota, but also statewide and as well as also international,
sure,
especially for the folks who are in residence in Minnesota. So some folks might have the questions.
yeah,
What about other cities such as St. Paul,
yeah,
Anoka,
right,
St. Cloud? Because they're all over the place. Because I
right,
know
right,
one of the questions that they might have, I just believe, is there like for those who have the questions, is there
mm-hmm.
places that you have in
Yeah,
top of your on in your mind that where they can go and
sure.
see if their tap water is safe to drink? Because
Absolutely. Once again, we encourage you. I think the city of St. Paul probably has a very similar treatment process to Minneapolis. You don't quote me on that because you and I haven't been to,
yeah,
we can't prove it because we haven't toured their facility yet, but I'm sure it's very similar. Um, but the point would be that they can reach out to if they can't find somebody in their city hall, like they should have a public utilities department or a water department, much like the city of Minneapolis has, and they can call their city general information number to get help navigating how to find the right person to talk to about their questions.
sure. Thank you. So before we conclude here, and I just wanted to say thank you for your times and for this beautiful education on the top of water. Is there a last message that you wanted to throw out there?
Well, it's the good news. The good news for City of Minneapolis residents who are drink and bathe and and sometimes play with the water when they're kids. For visitors who come here to worship, students who study here, and people who come here as workers and drink the tap water in their office place, their workplace, uh, places of employment. You're in good hands with the city of Minneapolis because the treatment process is world class, and it's as safe. And for my taste buds, I love city of Minneapolis water. And when I'm traveling, I always compare what I'm tasting in a hotel or a restaurant or wherever I happen to be outside of Minneapolis. I always compare the tap water, and I say, I still prefer my home tap water from Minneapolis.
Thank you, Dave. I want to say thank you to all our viewers, OIT, uh, OIT Media, and we hope that all the viewers have learned today a lot about the top waters,
Yeah.
and of course, obviously, and for those of you who live in the city of Minneapolis, especially, the way that you can save the environment, you can save
Yeah.
money, you can do a lot
Yes.
of that, and then how healthy the tap water is.
Yeah.
So this project, as you guys know, is led by the city of Minneapolis Health Departments and Public's Water and Treatment and Distribution Services to support all the residents to improve the health and promote a sustainable environmental and budget-friendly solution for these residents, workers, and visitors. Please share this information with your family and friends and neighbors. If you have more questions, please contact 311 and visit the website through the local and the community leaders. We also thank our guest today, Dave Alderson, who really did a great job and presentation and also answering some of the questions that we thought our viewers might have. With, yeah.
Thank you, Ahmed. It's my pleasure to be here. Very hospitable at OIT and Tawfiq Islamic Center. And we want to thank our brother Hamid for helping us with the tech aspect of
I
our presentation today.
Of course, thank you, Hamid, and thank you, David. And with that, I just wanted to summarize within probably just a short minute. Kuma dhageessan hawaasni keenya ko OIT miidiyaa kana nu hordoftan har'a namni hojjees turre David Alderson. David Aldersoniin nama City of Minneapolis wajjiniin dhimma tap water bishaan mana keessanii boombaa jechuudha. Waa'ee boomba irra tol qabateetiin boombaa mana keessa dhuudan warri City of Minneapolis keessa galtan hamma jiraattan jechuudha. Hammam takka tap water'n kun seevii ta'ee bishaan baaroo takka alaa bittanirra. Bishaan kun taraa hedduu guyyatti argatanii teesti godhama takka qormaata godhama. Akkasuma fluoride itti godhanii fluoride'n kunis akkasuma keemikaala ilkee akka nama hin balleessineef bishaan kana kanatti kanaan qulqulleessan. So bishaan waliigalumatti ni jiru barbaanne bishaan tap water'n akka bishaan baaroo water irra gaarii ta'e irra healthy ta'e adda akkas mul'isa keessattuu warri City of Minneapolis jaltan kuni projektiin waa'ee City of Minneapolis irratti hawaasa rezidentii ganda kana irratti xiyyeeffate warri bakka biraa galtanillee akka St. Paul, Brooklyn Park, Edina takka ammoo anookaa bakka adda addaa galtan Minnesota keessa kutaa adda addaa jiraattan isinilleen akkasumaan kaawuntii keessan takkaahuu uummata bakka warra gaafattan jiranii warra tap waterii kaawuntii teessanii takkaahuu magaalaa teessanii jiraattan gaafachuu dandeessan karaa isin hordoftanii karaa kaaniin akkasumatti galatoomaa isin jenaaniin warri gaafii qabdan 311 dhoytaniitiin gaafachuu dandeessanii warri immoo mallee tap water'n kun nutiif warri bishaan boombaa kun addan baafannee hangam takka qulqulluu ta'ee yoo jettan City of Minneapolisiin water treatmentii dhaqxanii achirraa teestii godhuu dandeessan isin gaafatanii isin harkisuu jira nutullee qaamallee dhaqnee ilaallee jirra. Akkasumatti galatoomaa David Alderson galatoomii isaan jenna akkasumatti obboleessa keenya Hamid miidiyaadhaan innillee harkiteetiin kaameraameen isallee galatoomeennan sagantaan keenya har'aa asumarra dhumata hanga guyyaa biraatti walitti deebinu galatooma baarakallaahu fiikum isin jenna. Assalaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.